This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Detroit Sports Podcast listeners can get 20% off the first year of an annual subscription by visiting theathletic.com/DSP. That's theathletic.com/DSP for 20% savings.
Oh my God!
Welcome to the most talked about podcast in all of podcast history. Welcome to Doc and Jock's Wrestling Show. If you don't know what that's from, that's basically the Miz is open to Miz TV. This is episode 12. Today we are going to review the top 4 matches from Wrestle Kingdom 12. We're also going to highlight the good, the bad, the ugly from both Raw and SmackDown. My co-host and I, the Doc, we're gonna discuss who our favorite wrestler of all time is as well. And if we do have some time, we're going to do some news and notes. But first, I want to welcome to the main stage. He goes by Cinnamon. He glistens as he walks to the stage because he's covered in oil. He is the Doc. Welcome, Doc. What's going on, bud?
How do I follow that? My goodness. I did get a chance. I mean, my goodness, I love the internet. I love the interwebs. I can't tell you how much I love Twitter and the internet because of the fact that right away when Wrestle Kingdom happened, a lot of people were posting some highlights, some clips. Even New Japan posted some clips of the match, Alpha versus Omega. It was decent. I'm not going to give you, like I said, world-renowned analysis of it because of the fact I know you're hardcore about New Japan. But all I can tell you is this. It was 35 minutes of action. I got through it. I just felt like it was too long. I just felt like it should have gone 25 minutes. The action was great. I mean, Chris Jericho delivered. Whatever they paid him, he earned it. Kenny Omega, like I was telling you, kind of just gave me that vibe of Flying Brian Pillman with his look, his kind of crazy vibes. It was a decent match, a lot of action, kept me involved. Chris Jericho told the story of a heel it was awesome, kind of destroying the sons of the referee, playing to the crowd, taking bumps. It just was a little bit long in terms of sometimes going for his move, the finisher, a little bit too often. And I just kind of felt like, in terms of a guy in his 40s, you don't have to give him 35 minutes to do the job. Just go out there, tell your story, get the job done in 25 minutes. But it was a great match. It was up there. I could see why people like New Japan. It was a little bit different in terms of presentation, in terms of kind of you see the matchup, and then it's like a guy in the PA system kind of in the background kind of announcing things and things like that. It was differently produced. I liked it. I liked the wrestling, but it was a wrestling match. It was decent. Like I said, I know you're more invested in Omega and you know more of the storyline. I didn't see any of the build-up, so when I saw your reviews and people were talking about kind of the match being a little bit disappointing, I said to myself, look, I was entertained. The hype did the job in that it made me tune in, found several feeds from YouTube to watch the match. I just felt like if you wanted to make it better, I gave it a B-plus match. If you wanted to make it an A match, 25 minutes, end it faster. Don't drag this out. And sometimes some of those holdover moves that go a little bit too long, I think you could have wrapped it up a little bit faster. But all in all, if that's what you're putting on in New Japan, you got yourself something going on, sir. Hit me with your thoughts on New Japan.
Real quick, did you think that this was probably Chris Jericho's best match that he's had in some time? Because I think so.
I think given the opportunity to do his own thing and work the crowd, he doesn't get a lot of 35-minute matches. So if he had that opportunity in WWE, I do believe he's had good matches there. But yeah, it was a solid matchup. I don't know if it was best in recent times. I thought his work with Kevin Owens was solid. I thought his work with AJ Styles 2 years ago was pretty good. Yeah. So, but the dude is 40 years old and he's got other things going on. But is this vintage Chris Jericho? No, the man's puffing out. He looks older. Andrea said, dude looks
a little bit soft.
Dude's looking a little soft. He's got like a dad bod going on, but the action looked good. And just seeing the reviews of what people said, a lot of people were very thrilled and enjoyed Wrestle Kingdom, especially this match.
Yep. All right, so let's start with we're going to do the top 4 matches. We're going to do them in order. So Cody Rhodes takes on Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi is Kenny Omega's former tag team partner, if you don't know. Overall, it was a very good match. I don't feel like it was anything special. I actually found myself messing around on my phone a lot during this match. Kota Ibushi ends up winning by pinning Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes at this point, he's a little bit overrated. I like Cody. I think he's really good. I think what he does in ROH is very good. I don't think he puts on great matches. He puts on good matches. He's like a solid mid-card guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to put the guy down. It's just that's where I see him and how I feel about it. Next, we have Sling Blade, Jay White. He challenges for the Intercontinental Championship against Tanahashi. Now, if you don't know, Tanahashi was basically what Okada was years ago. Tanahashi was what New Japan was built around. He helped get them to this point. So he's a beloved character. So him holding the IC championship is kind of a step down for him. But he's an older competitor, and he's kind of on his way out. This was supposed to be Jay White's coming out party. It never really seemed to get off the ground, though. At least not like I expected it to. I'm not sure if it was because, like I said, Tanahashi is 41. He's slowing down considerably. He's also working through a torn bicep, and he's got an injured knee. So the match wasn't high-flying. It really just kind of fell flat. Overall, it was a good match. It told a story. It had an awesome build to it with Jay White being a young lion. If you don't know what a young lion is, it's somebody who goes to the dojo in New Japan, and they basically get trained to become a wrestler. And they show these still shots in this live footage of Jay White being at the ring when Tanahashi was being coronated and just looking ever so envious. So it was totally awesome. The build was great. It was there. There was a story there, which was awesome. But it didn't seem like it ever blossomed. To my surprise, Tanahashi ends up retaining his belt, even though he does have a torn bicep and a bum knee. It really seemed like the perfect time to elevate Jay White and just to kind of send him to the moon here. I figured they'd give the belt to Jay White, let Tanahashi get some time to heal and maybe slow down a bit. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. So after that, we then have the Jericho Omega match. Now, I thought this match was great. I thought it was outstanding. Jericho comes out to his own band song in his light-up jacket. It was such a DB heel move. It was great. And you have to realize, Jericho is playing the classic heel. Like, he is cussing out fans, flipping people off, and he is slapping people that don't need to be slapped. It's amazing. Kenny then comes down dressed like an Egyptian god with a jackal head on and a large gun. It turns out he's a video game character. I'm not sure which video game he's from, but he's a video game character. The one thing about Kenny Omega, he always has awesome entrances, especially when it's a huge show. He's accompanied by the Young Bucks as well. Jericho attacks Kenny before the bell even rings. Red Shoes, who is the referee. So I'm going to mention Red Shoes a lot because Red Shoes is really involved. And Red Shoes is the head referee for all of New Japan's big matches. So Red Shoes gets involved. He tries to restore order, and the match ends up starting. Jericho ends up outside the ring at one point, and Kenny baseball slide kicks him over the guardrail. And when I say guardrail, it's like these rickety-ass old guardrails that he ends up flying over. Kenny then attempts to do a springboard onto Jericho, who's outside near the tables, and Jericho moves. Kenny's just everywhere, crashes and burns, goes through the table. There's TVs everywhere. The English announcing got knocked off the air at this time because they destroyed their announce table. It was amazing. You could hear Kevin Kelly, and you could hear oh damn, I can't remember his name. Anyways, you can hear Kevin Kelly being like, I think we're off the air. You can hear him getting picked up by somebody else's microphone. It was awesome. At this point, there's carnage everywhere. Jericho ends up pushing Red Shoes in the face. He falls down. He then slaps Red Shoes' son to the ground, where he then puts him in the lion tamer until Kenny kicks him in the shoulder. And Jericho, like I said, is just classic heel. He is like heel to like the 10th degree. It's amazing. Kenny then uses a chair and throws a monitor at Jericho. Like, this was a very physical, violent match. The two move through the announcing area along the stands, leaving to be what looks like the remnants of a tornado. Like, everything is upheaved and turned over. They end up back in the ring where Kenny attempts to top rope springboard, but Chris Jericho meets him before he can get started with his own springboard off the second rope, double kicking Kenny in the leg, which hyperextends it. And basically Kenny's lifeless body falls over the top rope. This was such an awesome spot right here. It was just, there was so much choreographed movement that had to go into it, and they both had to be spot on and perfect, and they were. It was incredible. The two end up rolling outside, and Jericho sets up a table to powerbomb Kenny. Kenny blocks it, but Jericho ends up powerbombing Kenny onto the mat outside, and it hits with such a thud where you're just like, oh my God, you know that hurt. Jericho then throws some more chairs in the ring, grabs the camera to take pictures of his middle finger, ends up taking pictures of Kenny Omega as well with his middle finger extended. They roll back into the ring, and Jericho sets up a chair between a top and middle rope. We then have some more back-and-forth action. Jericho gets Kenny into the walls of Jericho along the ropes, and Kenny's he ends up grabbing a can of the cleaner spray. And if you don't know anything about Kenny Omega, he used to be Kenny the Cleaner Omega, and the cleaner spray was his gimmick. It was his bit. So he takes this can of spray and sprays Jericho right in the eyes. He then sprays his whole body down, sprays his balls down, sprays his underarms down, and basically refreshes himself. It was a great spot. It was awesome. Jericho's blinded at this point because of the spray, and Red Shoes comes to check on him. Jericho pushes Red Shoes into Kenny, who then stalks Jericho from across the ring. Jericho at this point grabs Kenny and does kind of like a drop Toho and throws him headfirst into a chair. That was that chair that was previously wedged between the ropes. Kenny's busted open at this point, and he's bleeding everywhere. All right, and Jericho's relentless. He keeps throwing Kenny's head into the chair numerous times. When I say this was a physical, bloody match, it was a physical, bloody match. It was awesome. Kenny then has blood streaming down his face, and he fires up and attempts the one-winged angel, which is his finishing move. He ends up settling for a Snapdragon suplex. In a bout of resourcefulness and desperation, Jericho destroys a chair on Kenny's head. When I say destroys it, he hit him so hard. The chairs in Japan are different than the chairs here. Here we have like those steel metal chairs. In Japan, they're like metal frame chairs that have like a padded seat that if you hit hard enough will pop out. He pops one of these seat bottoms out on Kenny's head. It's incredible. Jericho then gets to his feet, and he uses a chair like it's a baseball bat and continues to break another chair over Kenny. After repeated swings, Jericho then goes outside to climb the ropes with a chair in hand. Kenny gets back to his feet, double leg kicks the chair into Jericho, who's just hanging on by a thread on the outside rope. Kenny then fires back up with a V-trigger, and a V-trigger is one of Kenny's moves. He loves to sit there and drive his knee right into your face. He does this here, knocking Jericho off the ropes and through that table that was set up earlier that Kenny was supposed to get powerbombed through. Kenny goes for another V-trigger later on in the match, and then attempts a one-wing angel, but Jericho rolls through it and puts Kenny in the walls of Jericho and then transitions it into the Lion Tamer and then goes back into the walls of Jericho. This was such an awesome sequence because he goes from one move to another of his classic moves back to the other move. It was seamless. It was absolutely seamless. Kenny ends up getting to the ropes, and an off-balance Jericho releases the hold. Kenny then hits a few V-triggers. There's a near fall. There's a ring corner spot. Jericho powers up to hit a code breaker for a near fall. Jericho then begins shouting, stay down, and goes for another chair and uses it with a lion salt. Kenny pops up, throws the chair at Jericho's back, who is stunned and frozen on the second rope. Kenny picks him up in the one-winged angel, drops him on that steel chair, head and neck first, and gets the 1-2-3. I thought it was an awesome match. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And it seemed like I told you a whole lot right there, but I tried to condense it down to the most important big spots. It was awesome.
Lived up to the hype.
For me, it did. And I love Chris Jericho and I love Kenny Omega. So it was great for me. I loved it completely. And Chris Jericho's heel character is so awesome and so over the top. And this started with, like you said, you didn't see a lot of the build, but there were times where Jericho would just show up randomly in Japan and attack Kenny Omega. This all built over Twitter. And then from Twitter, it went into the ring in New Japan, and then it went to some press conferences where Chris Jericho picked up an entire table and threw it and hit Kenny Omega in the head. Like a table. Like this table that we're talking at right now, picked this up and threw it and hit him in the head. Amazing. So after this, we then have the other main event. This was supposed to be a co-main event. Jericho and Omega had one. Naito and Okada had one. And Naito comes out to an amazing ovation. All right, I'd say the crowd was probably 70-30 pro Naito over Okada. And Okada is the New Japan champion. And Okada is one of the best wrestlers in the world if you don't know anything about New Japan. All right, he's amazing. He's incredible. Naito's character is such a jerk. It's awesome, right? So he comes down to the ring first, then Okada's got to come down, and he doesn't bother to get undressed or get out of what he wore to the ring. He ends up taking an additional 5 minutes to disrobe. The whole time, Okada and Red Shoes look super annoyed and are like impatient. Like, hurry up, what are you doing? In the end, it was a hell of a match. It had incredible pacing from the beginning to the very end. It would speed up, slow down, speed back up. It was like, it took you on a roller coaster, and it told such a great story. It was everything you could ask for in a match. It was incredible. In the end, Okada hits the Rainmaker, which is his finishing move. He ends up pinning Naito. Now, I thought Naito deserved the win here. This is another one where I was like, what? Why isn't he getting the belt? I thought Naito deserved the win, and it was his time. Just judging by the ovation that he got entering the Tokyo Dome, I think whoever put the booking together realized we might have made a mistake here, all right? And I'm not sure why Okada got to keep the belt, but Okada is now becoming legendary. Like, Okada was that deal, and now he's on such a torrid pace and such a torrid run. He has broke all New Japan records for holding the belt, and he has had such great matches over the course of his time holding that belt. He is becoming a legend in New Japan. It was awesome. I thought the final 4 matches, the top 4 matches, were all pretty great.
In terms of utilizing WWE superstars, you kind of saw a chart that said the attendance was really affected positively by having Chris Jericho. It seems like Wrestle Kingdom is an amazing event. It's gaining traction. They've had great world-class matches there on the lines of WrestleMania, and so they've done a great job, New Japan. I can tell you this, I'm not a really hardcore New Japan guy, but I am aware of the storylines regarding New Japan because of their great marketing, their great TV deals that they got going on. Mark Cuban supports them, so in terms of their ability to get their name out there being a secondary place to watch wrestling, it was nice. It did the job. And so now I'm a staple knowing that early January, Wrestle Kingdom, baby. Any dream Wrestle Kingdom matchups 2019?
Wrestle Kingdom 19. I wonder.
Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles,
No,
Wrestle Kingdom.
I don't want to see Brock Lesnar go back to New Japan. I
They have to involve Omega.
Yeah, it's got, you know what? I'd love to see for the 4th time, I'd love to see Omega versus Okada one more time, and Omega actually get the win.
I think that when you reviewed it on Facebook, a lot of people were kind of ranking it as opposed to what they saw Okada versus Omega. Where did it rank for you? Alpha versus Omega. How does it rate compared to the matches that you saw from Okada and Omega? How did Chris Jericho do in terms of where it slotted?
So Okada versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom last year.
You were raving about it for weeks.
It was amazing.
Some people say the best match ever put together.
Yeah, it was an amazing match. And that match really, like, I liked New Japan before, but that match sold me on New Japan. And because of that, I now follow what's going on in New Japan much more closely. And I even follow what's going on in ROH much more closely because they have a crossover. So that match was one of the best matches I have ever seen. This match with Kenny Omega was slightly below that. So if we're gonna go give it like 1 through 5, right? I'm gonna say Okada, Kenny Omega was 5, right? Jericho, Omega, I'm gonna say 4.5, 4.75. It was close. It was a very close second. It was a very good match. I love the build. The build to the story. It's so important.
It's part of the story. It's part of what you rate it.
It's so important because you're watching this, and I just love Chris Jericho. And this gets me to the next topic. Like, who's your favorite wrestler of all time? Because Chris Jericho is one of my favorite of all time. The guy is 47 years old, and he has continued to evolve himself. He has gone from one thing to another thing to something else, almost in the way like Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy does a great job of evolving his character, but Matt Hardy, I don't think, reaches the level, and I don't think he's as invested. He's really invested in his character, but I don't think he does. I don't know. There's something there. Chris Jericho does a great job of reinventing himself time and time again. And this heel run that he had with Omega was unbelievable to me because you got to see him be an absolute savage. Like when he went to the press conference after this match, he was cussing out the Japanese press and he was flipping them off. And the one guy went to go ask a second question. He was like, no, you get one question. Only one question. I'm not wasting my time with you. And he's just such a jerk. It's unbelievable.
So yeah, I'm going to be fascinated to see if you let me parse it out. My favorite entertainer is Hulk Hogan because of the various incarnations of the NWO, the Real American, obviously, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. But I
still pop for his
every time you see
Real
him,
American.
Listen,
I pop all the time.
Exactly. Hulk Hogan was my favorite entertainer, but my favorite wrestler, the dude that you know for performing moves, is the excellence of execution, Bret Hart. And go back and forth. I'm more of a guy that watches wrestling for the guys like Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, AJ Styles. I watch for the moves. I watch for guys that can tell a story, but also can wrestle. And Bret Hart had matches that were really outstanding, and his motto was absolutely true. Best there was, best there ever will be. And he's just a character that it was kind of cool because I watched him as, part of the Hart Foundation. And then you started to see there's something
you
there
watch
with
him
this guy.
evolve.
You watch him go from, basically the lowest end of your career as a tag team guy. You work through with the Anvil Neidhart, a lot of great matches with Demolition. Then you see him going, you know what, this dude can do some things, and they built him along slowly. Then his next run was with the Intercontinental Championship. Then he's starting to get into the world title picture, and he's having these great matchups, obviously highlighted by the 60-minute match at WrestleMania 12, I believe. It was awesome.
Do you remember when wrestling used to be booked that way?
Yeah.
Like, you would come in as something, right? And then they would build you slow.
Yeah.
Like, you'd get that step-down title,
Yeah.
or that next-level title. You wouldn't just go right to the main event.
Right.
You would have to build yourself there. And I think
But they still do
sold
it.
a fan. It's
But
what
they still
sold
do
a
it.
lot of
But
fans.
unfortunately, the guys aren't as relatable. Like, they're doing it now with Jason Jordan. I don't want to see him.
No.
I don't want to see that.
He's absolutely atrocious.
That's no Bret Hart. I don't want to see that because there was some personality. There was a little bit more to it. And because of the fact that you didn't see him all the time, the problem with wrestling now, it's oversaturated. Like, I can see AJ Styles Sunday, Monday, Tuesday through all the Twitter highlights and all the things that he's on. He's on podcasts. He's on WWE.com. You can go through the network and watch a lot of them. Whereas when you saw Bret Hart, you saw him on Saturday morning, and that was it.
That was it.
And we never saw a pay-per-view, so Saturday night's main event was awesome because you got to stay up and try to watch a great card. So now with wrestling on that much, and then house shows, I think if I hone in on the schedule right, these dudes only get one day off a week, and that's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Everything else, they're working, so a little bit oversaturated, and so it makes it a little bit harder to invest as much. But my favorite wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart. You can go back through and watch a lot of great matches, and you'll be entertained a lot.
And I think that oversaturation, like you're saying, where these guys get a day off, I think what ends up happening is it takes its toll on these guys.
Yeah.
Like, they come to the ring looking ragged, they're tired. A lot of times they flub lines that are written poorly, and we're going to talk about that when we discuss
and then
Raw.
they go to other organizations that suck just to work one day a week in one town. So it's unfortunate because they really should let people miss it by just taking off 3 weeks in December.
Yeah.
Start up, have a marquee event like a Starrcade be the last event in December, maybe like a December 12th to 15th, and then just take 3 weeks off. Let us just through your programming catch up on the year, just run packages instead of Raw being 3 hours. For 2 weeks, just let it go 2 hours and just give us here's the great match, here's kind of where it's going. Maybe a little bit more roundtable stuff where you have these Peter Rosenbergs and Sam Roberts just come in and do some talking about wrestling, the year that was, who was the best wrestler, where, like Bleacher Report did, they started rating the years of these guys, just kind of have some more talking about it to get us ramped up again. You have to have an off season.
Yeah.
You just can't treat it like a business because that's when ratings get really bad. And for SmackDown, the ratings have been kind of dipping to a bad level.
Yep. You could sit there and do matches of the year, put like a package together, and then have interviews with the wrestlers doing like a split screen with it.
Yeah,
and
what they
talking
thought,
about it.
yeah.
I mean, you see it on the network all the time. They
Yeah.
have the ability to do these things. All right, so let's now transition to WWE since we're talking about WWE. What did you like about Monday Night Raw this week?
I like the return of The Miz. I thought that it was missed when he wasn't there because you tried to infuse the Miz Taraj into some angles. It just didn't come off. But then when you got the leader there and you destroy Roman Reigns at the end, it's believable. It's really good.
Great.
I thought, like, okay, when you have the leader there, I just felt like, you know what? If the Miz wasn't there, you could have just had the Miz Taraj not be there as well.
Yeah.
I feel like when you use them to be fodder for Finn Balor, why? I feel like, you know what? You're utilizing wrestlers that have names. Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel are second-generation wrestlers. What they did to Roman Reigns was believable. I liked what I saw. I liked the Miz Taraj kind of taking that next step and taking advantage of Roman Reigns after that matchup. I like seeing Matt Hardy's new song. It wasn't the first time I seen it because there was a leaked video of an appearance that he did at a house show that kind of detailed it, but I didn't really like the animation of it. It kind of looked corny to me.
Yes.
I wasn't a fan of it. Other thing that I always kind of typically hate is how they're using the cruiserweights. I feel like, Enzo and, putting him in segments is okay. I like how it's kind of progressing with Nia Jax. But for me, I'm not a fan of the cruiserweights. I don't feel like it's worthy of the time that they're giving it. But the other thing that I loved about Monday Night Raw was Miz and Asuka kind of teaming up now for the Mixed Match Challenge.
That was awesome. That was really cool.
And then obviously I think the highlight of Raw was Braun Strowman destroying Kane and Brock Lesnar with that segment, having he pulled, I guess what you say was a massive steel structure,
It's like
massive, and pulled it down. I popped for that. That was
awesome.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. I had, I'll be honest with you, I happened to crawl into bed at that time, and I had it DVR'd and went back I had to watch it the next morning. And I wake up in the morning, and I look at my phone, and you're like, this was awesome. And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? So I go back and rewatch. I basically pick up Raw, and I can time it out to when you sent me that message. And I was like, this was effing awesome.
It was cool, right?
It was great. Braun sits there and basically, so you got Kane and you got Brock, and they're beating each other up in the back because it spilled from the ramp to the backstage area, and then Braun comes in and he picks up Brock Lesnar, and he threw Brock Lesnar like Brock Lesnar was a small child.
Yes,
just heaved him, and then he annihilates Kane, and then he sits there and he picks up this gigantic box. It's just something that they carry equipment around in, and just crushes Kane with it, and then he finds a grappling hook. Who the hell has a random grappling hook laying around? He grabs a grappling hook and pulls down this gigantic structure, crushing both of them. It was an incredible segment, and again, Braun is a savage. You know what it did? Because I don't believe Braun's going to win, but it made me for a moment believe that Braun has a shot at defeating Brock and walking out with the title. And at the Royal Rumble, I see Brock continuing to keep the title until he matches up against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And we got to deal with a absentee WWE champion until then, or Universal champion until then.
So it sounds like you're telling me you're still not thrilled with how the Woken character has been used in WWE right now?
No. If you look at my rundown, I absolutely hate the ridiculousness that has become the Woken gimmick.
It's not a Woken. It's just not happening.
It's just
dormant.
It's so bad, man. I did like the new song. I love the song. Like you said, I thought the graphics absolutely sucked, but the character itself is horrible, man. I don't know if this is Vince's doing or if this is Matt's doing. Either way, it's not what you used to get in TNA. And I congratulate him for trying to continuously evolve his character. Like we were talking with Chris Jericho, you got to evolve your character, because if you don't, the character's going to die. It's going to get stale. It's going to fall flat. But this character has gone way off the rails, and I just don't like it. He laughs hysterically all the time. It makes absolutely no sense. And look, the one thing about the Woken character or the Broken character was that he was in on his craziness, and it was fun. He took you on a ride. He let you suspend disbelief for a little bit. At this point, it's like the broke down weird cousin that you have that you don't ever like to talk to. It's like me at our Christmas functions, right? Like I'm the broke down weird cousin nobody wants to talk to. I'm just there in the corner. It's bad, man.
What'd you make of the New Shield versus the Balor Club in the main event? Worthy?
I like the way the story's going. I thought it was good. I really enjoyed the finish, like you said, with the Miz destroying the Miztourage. So the way that they're kind of singling out Jason Jordan, and in the end, Jason Jordan's the reason that they end up losing to the Balor Club. And boy, do I love the Balor Club right now. I think it's awesome that they got those guys together, and I find it funny the way that WWE will utilize a lot of stuff that they did in New Japan, but they won't allow guys in New Japan like the Young Bucks to utilize anything that the WWE does. It blows my mind how Vince has a double standard there for it. But I really enjoy the Balor Club, and I think Finn. Have you ever seen Finn smile so much? Like It's nothing but chiclets when he's on TV.
And I think what Raw did for me, I guess the central point, the theme of the night was, in 2 weeks you better set your DVR for Raw 25.
Yes,
because they highlighted who's coming back. Basically, a lot of old timers that we all pop for are coming back. So Raw 25 in 2 weeks will be good. And then you're going to have a match with The Miz, I believe, and Roman Reigns at that Raw 25. That should be a really good match.
Do you expect The Miz to get his title back there?
Do you do a title change? Maybe, but maybe you have the women's title change, or maybe you do something different. I don't think so.
So I can see both.
You could see it. I don't think that Miz doesn't need a belt. I mean, I like the fact that he's running Rub Shop now with the Miztourage. I want to see the characters evolve and see what they do with it. I definitely want to see Brock Lesnar. I love his music. I don't even need to hear Paul Heyman speak. I love the angle so much when he comes out. It's just perfect music for him. I guess the other characters that I guess I could like to see is I like to see the Bar continue their run through the WWE Tag Team division. Even though they're not the title holders, their segments are great. They have a presence
on Raw, though.
They did.
They lost to Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews.
But I enjoy the match. I enjoy their gimmick. I enjoy their entrance. I like that they were all serious with Kurt Angle in the back with their promo, and then they're like, "Oh, you gave us a match. It's all good, brother. Give us someone to do." I was kind of hoping maybe for a surprise tag team or something kind of fun with it, but they went with those guys, and that's fine too. But I like the Bar. That's the next angle I want to see. I hope their stock watch, when we talk about them in 2 weeks, goes up.
The reason I can see Roman losing the title to The Miz is at some point you got to get the belt off him, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's going to challenge Brock, or he's going to challenge whoever has the title at WrestleMania. So at some point you got to get the title off him. And who's worthy? Miz is worthy. Miz does a great job carrying that belt. So it would make sense for me to see that.
Okay, let's go over to SmackDown. What was your take on it? I thought it started off okay. I liked the beginning in terms of the production of how it looked. I liked the way the coloring looked and how it emphasized AJ Styles and the belt. It popped. It just made it a feature. You got to see Renee Young and AJ Styles do an interview. After that, it was just like, seriously, this is what they aired? Literally, it was kind of
paste, dude.
Yeah, it was kind of like literally they had the script in front of them, just kind of edited out. Yeah. It was just like, oh my God, this is what you're talking about. You're talking about the unfair nature of having to face these guys in a handicap match, and it just seemed like AJ Styles was limited in how he was. I don't think he's handling scripted material very well because he's not natural at it. It's just, was it me or did it come across as AJ Styles was forced to read something and he's trying to deliver it? Yeah, it didn't sound right.
It felt really unnatural.
It felt corny.
Whoever wrote his stuff, AJ does not talk like that.
Yeah.
So
just give the man a mic and say, talk about your feelings, and just let him go do it. Let it go down. It doesn't have to be scripted. I mean, it's a 2-hour show. I do believe that AJ could have delivered better than what was scripted.
And here's the thing.
How could he not?
AJ's a professional, right?
Yeah.
He knows what he's got to do. Let the guy go talk. It's all it is talking. Let him go talk. Let him explain how he feels about this. That's it. He's in character. He can portray whatever that character is feeling.
Yeah, and he could come through, the passion come through and say, look, I put my foot in my mouth, but at the same time, I'm AJ Styles. I'm the best wrestler in the world. You could probably bring 3, 4, 5 guys in here, and I'll show you why I'm the WWE champ. I feel like because it was scripted that he had to think his way through it, and it just didn't come off natural. And you and I were like, dude, this is corny.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's TV. You gotta.
I didn't like a lot of SmackDown.
All we have to ask is, yeah, exactly. All we got to ask is, you don't have to go from scripted to full-on 20-minute promos, letting the guy rant and rave and go off script, but just say, hey, here's the bullet point. You're angry that this happened. Tell us why you're going to win. That's it. That's a theme. Give them the guys a theme, and he can go out there and say, look, I'm AJ Styles. You could throw 8, 9, 10 challenges. I've already done some things in WWE. Even when I first walked out here, people didn't believe in me, and here I am. That's all you got to do. I mean, you and I off the cuff can do it better than what we saw. It just, seriously, that's what you wrote? What the hell?
I mean, if you go and you look at my rundown for SmackDown,
it's all
I sat there
hate.
Yeah, it really is. And I made a comment about, I liked a weird commercial about the weird little lung commercial.
Yeah.
Where the lung, smokes cigarettes all the time, and then he dies on a moose horn.
Right.
I liked that. That was something I put in the like category. But it was not a good SmackDown.
But we do got to highlight one performer that kind of stood out when you do give an opportunity to somebody and they take advantage of it. Chad Gable he won the night.
God.
I felt like he won the night in terms of what he did. He can talk on the microphone, and it seemed like if it was scripted, then he was able to deliver it flawlessly, and he has more of a natural vibe, a true pro in terms of what he did, and in the ring as well. It's a good scenario tagging Chad Gable with Shelton Benjamin. They're going to probably have some fun in 2018.
Absolutely. And you got to remember, Shelton is not very fluid on the microphone. Chad Gable's amazing, though. The dude's a stud on the mic. He's a beast in the ring. You're absolutely right. He won the night. He even sat there and he went back and forth and played with the crowd. And when you can see a character sit there and kind of break that third wall, if you will, where the crowd is sitting there chanting stuff at them and they can pick it up and run with it a little bit and just kind of ad-lib, it's amazing. It's amazing. And for him, he has grasped that and is running with it. I feel like WWE made a huge mistake by taking Jason Jordan and giving Jason Jordan the spotlight that he has. I think it should have been Chad Gable. I think Vince looked at the size of Chad Gable and was like, he's too small. We need the big guy. Let's go with the big guy. Let's give him the shot. And Jason Jordan is not smooth. He's very unpolished. He's decent in the ring, but other than that, he's not very good. Chad Gable is like a 5-tool player. The guy's amazing right now. He's outstanding. The other thing I really liked, I like them renaming Rusev and Aiden English to Rusev Day. I thought it was great. I sat there, I laughed so hard. Like we discussed last week, Rusev's going to get a big push here at some point. Rusev's awesome right now. I think he's incredible. I absolutely love Rusev. The thing that really bothered me about this SmackDown, though, was the main event. And was everything that surrounds the main event, because it is now becoming the Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan show.
It's clusterf, right?
Yeah. They bicker back and forth. They're the center of the show. Everything revolves around them. You then have a main event of Randy Orton, Nakamura, and AJ Styles taking on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn keep trying to find ways to get themselves disqualified from the match. And Shane keeps coming out to restart the match. And it just we didn't move anything forward. We didn't build on anything for the Royal Rumble. It was just kind of like we were stuck in the same place that we were when the show started earlier this evening. And now we closed it out, and you're just here scratching your head like, what the hell's going on?
Exactly.
And I was just really frustrated overall with SmackDown.
Yep. So it seems like you and I are probably on the same page. Raw won the week.
Absolutely.
Pulling ahead by far. It wasn't. It was something where, again, SmackDown, all you got to do to change it up is if you want to do a 20-minute promo, do it in the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
Just start a match. Just start the show with a match. It's been like 5 weeks in a row now. You got to start the show with a match. It's a 2-hour show, and you're not giving the people their money's worth. I mean, seriously? It's like, why are their promos that long every single start of SmackDown? You just start a wrestling match. It's a wrestling show. Start a wrestling match, or promos max 5 minutes. Have the next match come out and handle your business. SmackDown's got to do a lot better if they want to draw in eyes, because they're starting to look like the B show here, especially in our ratings as well.
Absolutely. And sticking with SmackDown, let's transition to news and notes.
Hit me with the news and notes.
Daniel Bryan, during some dark matches, was running the ropes at WWE. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to come back and compete. It's going to be interesting. We got to watch this to see what WWE is going to do. There's a lot of legalities involved with this because WWE is involved in a lawsuit regarding concussions and CTE. So they are handling the Daniel Bryan situation with kid gloves, and that is just because they're trying to protect their own selves. Daniel Bryan has been on record numerous times saying that he will go to ROH, he'll go to New Japan, he'll go wherever and wrestle whoever because he wants to wrestle. Also, coming off the success of the Jericho Omega match, you already talked about how it helped with the sales. New Japan is totally open to using more WWE guys, and the owner of New Japan has come out and said that there's not an adversarial relationship with WWE, so hopefully they can work on something moving forward. This makes me think and makes me wonder if they would be able to do some type of a crossover with New Japan and WWE, almost an invasion angle. I think it would be awesome. I think it'd be absolutely incredible. The only thing is, New Japan, the way they wrestle very physical. Like, they don't pull their punches. You can watch a WWE match and you can be like, wow, that never even touched anybody. like people are falling backwards before the guy even jumps up in the air. So New Japan's totally different. Like, when they hit you, they hit you. You know, it might not be at full power, but they hit you. So it would be interesting to see if they could somehow work something out and come to some type of a conclusion where they could do a crossover. I think it would be absolutely incredible and awesome, especially to see guys like Nakamura, AJ Styles, the Balor Club, to see those guys back in with the guys in New Japan who they had wrestled with for so long and have a career with. It'd be absolutely awesome. WWE has also already canceled one of the shows for their new 205 Live touring event. They're citing logistical issues, which is just code for no one's buying tickets. John Cena...
Oh, no!
Yeah, Dan, it's bad. John Cena may be moving back to SmackDown as WrestleMania gets closer. He'll be doing a few more dates with Raw, and then he'll be moving back to SmackDown Live, where he's being advertised for Fastlane, which is a SmackDown pay-per-view. There are rumors going around about Rey Mysterio. He was supposed to be coming to WWE. Then Impact wanted him. And then he was going to be going to Impact. Then he was going to do this. Then he was going to do that. It seems as though Impact really, really wants Rey Mysterio. They want to bring him in for their next set of tapings. It may happen, may not happen. We've got to watch and see. So good news and bad news for Samoa Joe. What do you want first?
Bad news.
All right, bad news. So in Monday night's match, he ended up injuring his right foot.
Oh.
He heard a pop in the right foot, and it's being reported that it's a plantar fascia rupture.
Oh, no.
Which means he'll likely be out for up to 2 months.
Oh.
Now, when this happens, you can't do anything. Like, you can't be on your foot. No weight, no nothing. So the plantar fascia is, if you look at your bottom of your foot and you kind of bring your toes towards your face, there's that little bit of a tendon that runs from the front of your foot to the heel, and he ruptured that. And that is super, super painful. If you ever had any plantar fascia issues, it hurts like hell.
Well, if it was going to happen, I think 2 months puts him right around WrestleMania, but is he going to be in enough shape?
He misses the Royal Rumble.
He misses the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Yep.
So I don't expect him in the Royal Rumble. And look, he's such a savage. He worked through it. You couldn't even tell. This all came out after Monday night's event where he was wrestling. So the good. He picked up a voice acting role in a Transformer animated series. So if you like cartoons, like I do, you'll be able to hear Samoa Joe voicing probably Bumblebee or something. So transform, roll out.
There you go. Okay, not too
All
bad.
right.
Well, if you're not going to be in the ring, you got to make some money because it just the way it goes is that your money is really affected, you know, sometimes when you're injured. It's the worst time, too. Samoa Joe is just starting to pick up heat. People are starting to believe him, but if you're a guy that can't get in the ring and your stock goes down, damn.
Bad timing. Same thing with Enzo. I believe Enzo was legitimately injured on Monday night. It looked like it might be either his ankle or maybe he broke his, tibula, fibula, something with his leg. He was all busted open. Cedric Alexander, it seemed like took some liberties with him inside the ring, busting his forehead open. And when he went down, his leg bent in such a way, and they had to bleep him out because he was swearing so much. And he was like, no, not now, no, not now, because as we were talking or tweeting with Breaking Down the Ring, it's WrestleMania season.
Yeah.
So you got Royal Rumble, you got WrestleMania. Those things don't fix themselves immediately. Those things take some time to heal. And if you're a champion, you got to be able to defend your belt, and this is the big payday for all these guys.
All right, great breakdown, sir. Enjoyed the podcast immensely. Always enjoy talking wrestling with you. Follow our friends as well who do a wrestling podcast at BDRcast. They do a live show every single Wednesday, 9 p.m. at the Podcast Detroit Network. Great guys over there at Breaking Down the Ring. Our podcast every single Friday. Thank you so much for supporting it. It's been very fun talking wrestling every week with Adam. It's been fun to watch these shows and to see kind of other organizations as well. Royal Rumble season. Can't wait to see the build-up. It's looking to be a decent card with 2 Royal Rumble matches, AJ Styles, and you got the handicap match, Brock Lesnar. You got the two title matches and 2 Royal Rumble matches. Going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, do you have a problem with them both being multi-man matches like that instead of one-on-one?
It's I get it. There's a lot of guys that you can put in there, and sometimes you got to do it. So I don't have a problem with it.
All right, interesting.
All right, let's
great podcast, bro.
See everybody. Check out our podcast every single day, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.